Hello, and welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we talk about a little bit of a video game or watch a lot of an entire anime and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Maddie Grace Webben.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm Bernard Hauk.
And today we are doing our typical movie night where we watch some visual media that is relevant to a game we just played. So we just finished playing Ys 1 and Ys 2. Wonderful games, loved them a whole lot. And now we're watching the Ys anime, which was made probably in the 80s, judging by the way that it looks, and by that would make sense. We're only watching the Ys 1 portion of the anime, because watching the whole thing would be too much. And even though Ys 2 is really, really cool, we figured jumping in the middle would be weird, and now that I've watched it, I agree with that. So yeah, we're watching this dang old anime, but before we get started, how are y'all doing?
I feel awful. My eyes hurt. My forehead is like weird. My forehead feels like wrong and itchy, but like under the skin. And I'm tired. I have no idea what's wrong with me, and I hate it.
Oh, that sounds really unpleasant.
That's rough all around. Yep. No, it's no fun at all.
I have some advice for you. Stop.
Yes.
Stop it.
Okay.
Just cut it out. You'll be fine. As a word from Dr. Sailor Eli.
If my eyes were hurting, I would simply stop having my eyes be hurting.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, that sucks.
I'm very helpful.
I am also actually in a lot of pain. Not right this second, but in general, I have this really bad pain on the left side of my jaw that I've kind of had for a long time, but not so much that I've ever gotten to go to a doctor because I'm dumb, and also I mostly didn't have health insurance, so I didn't think, oh wait, I could fix this problem instead of just dealing with it. But like, it's just like, sometimes my jaw gets stiff and whatnot. But anyway, last week on Tuesday and Wednesday, or maybe Wednesday and Thursday, it started hurting like the goddamn Dickens, like really, really, really bad pain. And like I couldn't chew very well because I couldn't close my mouth all the way. So I started taking some a normal responsible amount of painkillers, and also doing a little bit of Googling to find out what's wrong, which just made me more anxiety because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I couldn't really I have a little bit of issue with my insurance right now, so I wouldn't be able to go see a doctor right away. Luckily, after 2 days of this, it kind of went back to normal. It mostly went away. My jaw feels pretty much, it's pretty much fine right now. If I move it like a certain way, it hurts, but it's like basically fine. So I'm still going to fix it. I'm still going to go see a doctor, but it's not critical, and I'm not dying.
That's good.
And it's not like, it was like so much that it was like impeding, it was like making my brain not work as well, right? Like I couldn't sometimes focus on things because I was just focusing on like not making my face hurt. But yeah, it really stunk. Eli, have you been dealing with any debilitating debilitating bodily illnesses?
Sort of. I have chronic back pain, which is great.
Yeah. That always sucks.
It's it's very unpleasant. And since I'm working from home, I like when I'm at the office, I'm walking around more because if I have to go to like the break room or the bathroom, it's a farther walk, and or like I go out on my lunch periods and I walk over to the smoking area and I sit and I draw outside. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting slightly more exercise when I'm at the office. So I've been trying to like make myself go on walks. And thankfully it's been cooler outside recently, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. And I'll go out real late at night. Like 1 a.m, and there's a little park about 15 minutes from where I live, walking distance, and so I'll walk over to that park, and then I'll sit there for a little while and just kind of relax, and then walk back. Yeah, so I'm trying to force myself to do things other than sit at my computer, because left to my own devices, I will just sit at my own computer all day.
I think that might be part of my jaw issue as well. I've been laying down on like my bed more, like playing Switch and stuff, which laying on my face and whatnot. Could be stress, could be weather temperature changing. But yeah, it's. I think that this quarantine situation is kind of getting to everybody, even in the physical sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still have a bruise on my arm from where I got blood drawn 2 weeks ago.
Still?
Jesus.
Yep.
That sucks.
It's not. It's finally starting to go away. Like,
Okay,
it's not
good.
as bad as it was.
So that means
But
it's probably not
it's-
like a problem, but if
Probably not. But, and it's like, it's a little sore if I press on it, but it's not like.
Well,
anything
don't press on it.
don't press on
Yeah,
it,
right.
Eli.
Don't do that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I've just been doing lots and lots of Final Fantasy still because I'm officially super addicted to this game.
If it was not for all of the goddamn video games, now you're officially addicted to FF14. Good to know. Let's log that away. Hey folks. Turns out Eli's addicted to FF14. This week I was thinking about video games, and someone shared a picture of FF14, and I was like, I should play that. Honestly, if it wasn't for the 10 million other video games that I either am going to be playing or literally have to be playing. Basically, Chrono Trigger, I have to play because of the podcast. Animal Crossing, I pretty much have to play because of my girlfriend. I mean, I love the game, but also I have to play it. And then Final Fantasy VII, like, I have to play it because yeah, I have to, right? If it wasn't for all three of those, I probably would be playing FF14 now.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
It's got a great story.
Because it's like, the whole quarantine thing and being inside. It's like, ooh, FF14,
Yeah.
this looks good. I should play it.
If you want to get the story, but you don't want to actually shell out the money to play the game, there's YouTube compilations of the cutscenes, so you
Nah.
always look into that.
I've never been into that.
Okay.
If I'm
That's
not
fair.
going to get the story by playing it, I'll just not bother. I'm just like, well, I guess I'll never know what happens
Yeah.
in that game. But yeah, Bernard, anything else going on with you besides the crappiness?
I've just been playing a lot of video games when I can keep my eyes open enough to play them.
Oh, it sucks that video games require eyes, and eyes is your current problem.
Yeah, I mean, last week, my eyes hurt really bad for a couple of days, and then it sort of went away. Yesterday, my eyes hurt terribly, and this morning, they don't feel as bad. So I don't know what's going on. I should maybe call an ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
No, I would recommend it. I had a scare year and a half ago where I thought that I had maybe, like, my retina had torn or something.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Thankfully, it was not the case, but ophthalmologist was very, very kind and very helpful, and would highly recommend the Austin ophthalmologists because they're super great.
This is a slightly random comment, but I've always personally felt like, of all the various ways that a body part can be injured, torn is the one that sounds the most squicky to me.
Oh yeah,
Like, if you hear
Yeah.
that something got broken, you're like, yeah, sure, it broke, right? Like, it broke in
Yeah.
half. If you hear that something was like punctured or cut, it's like, yeah, I get it. But if something is torn, you're like, ooh, it is not supposed to do that,
no,
right? Because, like, to tear, it's almost like if you get, it's like getting stabbed with a blunt object, right? It's like, no, tear isn't like a sharp thing cut it, because when a sharp thing cuts it, it's like, duh, of course, it's a sharp thing, right? But torn is like, no, you just moved it in a way it wasn't supposed to move so hard that it ripped apart. And you're
Yeah.
like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, that's squicky. Ooh, I don't like that. Of course, it's so squicky, I shouldn't have just described it in visceral
Yeah.
detail, sorry.
How about we talk about East?
Yeah. So, I don't know if we'll be able to get some music from this anime. Hopefully we will. But yeah, let's listen to some anime music and we'll talk about this show. All right, so the show starts off. Each episode starts off in media res, which is fun. Or you get like a little cold open rather. So there's some dark and stormy skies, and there's the outside of a tower studded with windows. And suddenly there's lots of wolves. Some really badass music starts playing literally immediately. There's a cool fight scene at the 1 minute into this anime. Just a shit ton of shots of cool monsters from the game, like wolves, those tree men, other type things. The monsters are coming. The men of the village rally to battle. There's people in. Then we get a little bit of narration. People in the mine are living in fear of the monsters, and they have had to fight them off for a long time. There's a purple-haired babe at the top of a tower, and she's looking into a crystal ball, and suddenly she goes, and she's like, "Oh, a hero is coming." Actually, that was for my notes, but later I realized that she said, "A brave soul is coming." I remember that because she says it 10 million times over the course of this.
I also want to note that you said the people in mines are hiding in fear. It's people in Minea.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Your phone auto-corrected it to mines, and it's important to note because there are mines in this anime.
Actually, joke's on you. It wasn't autocorrect. It was my own stupid fingers because I typed it.
Okay.
Yes, the people in Minea have been hiding out, and they've been not hiding in mines, though there is a mine there that is present also. We get the East title card. So we're introduced to a bustling, happy port town. Who's that coming up over the hill? Why, it's our boy, Adel. He's a red-haired, happy lad, gawking at the stalls in the marketplace. He stays at a nearby inn and is polite and cheery. We learn a tiny bit of backstory about him that we didn't really get from the game, unless it happened and I wasn't paying attention or didn't remember. He says he's simply, quote, from a village far to the east, and has been, quote, traveling for a while. He wants to go to Asteria. The innkeeper's like, "Yikes, I recommend ye not be going to Asteria, lad." And then we get a bit more motivation for Adel. He says he, quote, heard there was a land called Asteria where evil monsters had taken over, and that's all the motive he needs. The next day, he talked to the knowledgeable sailor who explains all the stuff that we know from the game already about the lore, about how they made silver, but now there's problems. But he can't help Adel. He says, I'm not helping you do that. But then Adel says he feels drawn there. Every time he hears about Asteria, he just feels like he needs to go there. As he says this, the main overworld theme from East 1 starts playing slowly, and then it turns into a fucking banger, and Adel's like, "I'll do anything to achieve my goal," and the sailor can hear that he's the hero because of the music, and he says, "Okay, you know what, if you work for me, I'll help you out." There's a really cool montage of...
Also, he's hot.
Yeah, he's really hot.
Yeah.
There's really... all the characters in this game or in this anime are pretty hot. Except Adel. Although Adel can be hot, depending on, what you're into. There's a really cool montage of Adel working hard with the other sailors. After some unknown time passes, I don't know, I parsed it as like a week maybe. Mr. Norton, this guy's name is Mr. Norton, Edward Norton. He tells Adel to put a huge sack on this little one-man boat. Adel does this and jumps in. And then Norton says, "You're fired." And Adel's like, "What?" And he's like, "No, you're fired because you did a lot of hard work, and this boat is your reward for all the hard work. Also, that's a bag of supplies. Get thee to Asteria. The sea is the calmest I've ever seen. Maybe there won't be a storm." Folks, there is a storm.
What a shot.
There's a big storm. It's pretty intense, and Adel almost gets owned. So Dogi and I put question mark. Later it turns out it's this guy named
It's Goban.
Oh, that's right, it is
Yeah.
Goban. The other guy whose name I can't remember shows up later. Dogi and the person we later learn is Goban. Find Adel on the beach, and he has a little dream sequence. Not much happens. He just sees the hot lady. Adel wakes up in the hospital. It is full of wounded warriors because the monsters are so strong. When the others learn he made it through the storm vortex, they are astounded. Later, he talks with Goban. No, this is where he talks with a different guy. Okay, so I didn't get this guy's name like 50 times. There's like a G.
Isn't it Slav?
What's that?
Isn't it Slav?
Yes, Slav. That's the guy's name. Yes.
It's spelled like Slaghf.
Yeah.
Slav was a character in the Chronicles version.
Oh, nice,
Yes.
nice. He wasn't in mine, so I was like, did they make this guy up? Yeah, so we talked with Slav, who's defending the town. Slav ends up being a really cool character, even though I couldn't remember his name because it's got like too many weird letters in it. He says, quote, "It's not enough to defend the town. This isn't a quote. He says it's not enough to defend the town. We need to find out why this is happening." Sorry, let's just back up for a second. Adel says that. He says, "I gotta find out what's happening. We can't just keep defending the town from monsters." But Slav says, "Well, I can't afford to leave the town, but if you want to help us, you should definitely do it and visit Sarah." Sarah is super excited to see Adel. She loses her bonkers. She tells him that there's a very specific legend passed down in her family where a brave soul will arrive to save the day, and also the brave soul's name is Adel Kristen. So that's cool that you just get a name. The monsters show up and they fight a bunch, and it fucking rules. At first they tell Adel not to fight, but then he does, and it's badass. It turns out Sarah told Adel to visit her sister in,
Her aunt
in Zeptic, and also she gives him a crystal. It's a dagger thing. She says it's a crystal, but it also is like a dagger.
I feel like there was a missed opportunity here where they could have just taken the animation cells of Adol and the monsters and just mashed them together.
Yep. Yeah, he should have just been slamming his body into the monsters repeatedly.
Yeah, like they could have saved so many animation frames.
Yeah, it would have been more. It would have been so much more realistic and accurate to the source material.
Instead, every single time Adel kills a random minion monster, he dramatically slices it in half.
Yes, yeah, that's his signature move, and it whips. So the next day, our boy is all geared up. One thing I like about this anime is Adel continuously gets better armor and weapons throughout the series. So he's like going to the shops in between episodes, which is nice. So after getting his cool ass armor, he sets off. So that's episode 1. The next episodes, I don't be going into quite so much detail because frankly, not as much happens. But yeah, just wanted to get all the little deets there. Episode 2. So we get a flashback to baby Adel. We get his backstory, which is literally just that he's a hero and a good boy. He's looking at a book of scary dragons, and his dad tells him dragons and monsters and witches are real, and they exist in various lands, causing people trouble. Adel says, "When I grow up, I'm going to be a hero and slay dragons." And the dad's just like, "Cool, love this for you."
And there sure are dragons in East 1 and 2.
Yep.
Not to mention all the witches. There are so many witches as well.
Yeah.
There's wizards at least. Some of those random enemies could have been witches. Who knows? All you do is run into them. So our boy has finally arrived at Zeptic. But it seems abandoned and destroyed. He's very sad about this. He's like, "I was too late." A mysterious stranger appears. Oh, it turns out this is just the town of Raston. It's been destroyed for a while. This man is from Zeptic. Adel feels very silly. Turns out this guy is Luther Gemma, one of the few characters I remember from the games.
It's Luda Gemma.
His name is Luther in the anime,
Yep,
though.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Okay, well, they pronounce the surname Gemma.
Nice. I was not listening to how they were pronouncing it in Japanese because I can't do that while also reading subtitles. So yay. So anyways, Luther Gemma. He says he's been investigating, and there's something peculiar about this town that he's currently in, Roston. All the silver is missing, but it wasn't looters because nothing else is missing. It's just the silver. The monsters seem to be after silver. Adel and Luther become buds. Let's see. Adel and then there's a bunch of scenes of him just going. He actually goes to Zeptic, and they just kind of hang out, and then he has dinner with the wife, and then in the evening, Luther sings a song. This all doesn't matter. It's an MM for me later though. Finally, a messenger from the mine shows up the next day. Oh no, Sarah has been attacked. She's fine, but now everyone's worried that the monsters are after her, right? And Adel wants to go back and save her, but they're like, "You really know there's guards in the town. They'll protect her. They'll definitely do a good job of protecting her." He then talks with the lady that he was supposed to come here and see. Bernard, get me on the name here.
Jebba.
No, that's not the name of the lady.
Yes.
Oh,
it is.
I misheard.
Prove
Jeva.
me wrong.
No, you're right. It's Jeva. Actually, I do this thing where I'll get the name wrong early in this document, which is my notes, and then later I get it right, and so I'm having to scroll down. Like, what did I later find out the person's name was?
We played these games.
Yeah, but A, these characters don't make much of an impression, and B, I played a different version than y'all. Anyway, whatever. She says that Adol Kristen is actually a pretty common name, and there have been many so far. So don't get your hopes up, kid. I don't actually think you're the hero. Which I think is a cute little interesting complication. It just seems like a very inconvenient way to do a legend. So she tells him about the books and all like stuff about the books and shit. One of them is in the Shrine of Solomon, which again wasn't that from East 2?
It is in East 1. It was the Shrine of Solomon as well. Presumably, they are two separate parts of the shrine that became separated when East and Asteria separated, because it was the Solomon Shrine in East 1 as well.
Nice. There we go. Cool. So there's lots and lots of monsters.
I have a terrible memory. That's like a known character trait for me. Why do I remember these games better?
That is weird. And that time I don't even think you could chalk it up to translation stuff. I think it probably just was Solomon Shrine and I forgot. Again, East 1, it's mostly just structural. You're just going to the dungeon or the thingy or the tower or talking to the guy. Like in my head, that's just all it is. Anyway, so he gets to the shrine, and the monsters can't follow him in. Oh shit! He sees a boss door. He goes into the boss door, the boss room. There's a beautiful lady in there, and then he fights a giant fucking worm. It's cool as shit. He gets on his back like a damn Shadow of the Colossus. The worm is about to own him. But then he ends up like dodging, and the worm like goes into the wall. As it turns out, the worm just burrows all the way through the side of the wall and falls out of the goddamn mountain. Which I thought was a really nice way to kill a boss.
I don't think Adol should get experience points for this.
Yeah, that's a very good. Yeah, he should not get XP.
Unless it's Dark Souls rules, I
That's
guess,
true.
and just if something dies, you get experience points. Doesn't matter if you were even involved.
Yeah, like Dark Souls has this fun thing where if an enemy falls off of a cliff, you get the experience for it, which makes sense because a lot of the time, like you pushed it off the cliff, right? But actually, if any monster dies at any point in an area, you get experience points. So sometimes you'll just be walking, and all of a sudden it'll be like you got 200 experience, and you're like, I didn't do anything.
There's even like this part where there's a big bridge and there's a bunch of baddies on it, and then a fucking dragon shows up and starts shooting fire, and the fire gets some of the baddies, and you get experience for that.
Nice.
Because baddies died.
Yeah,
well, that's helpful.
It's extremely funny. Yeah, the universe just decides that if anything happens, it was your fault. So anyway, he fights the worm, and he gets Dark Souls style experience because it owns itself out of the mountain. And then he finds the first book of Ys, and that's episode 2.
And also he does, save the woman.
And saves the lady as well. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, who are you?" And I don't think she says, but it's Fina. And she looks very, very similar to another character who's going to show up in just a second. So back in the mines, back in Minia, that's actually just my eyesight. It's just too far away. Back in Minia, things have gotten even more dangerous. The people have to stay inside. But everyone is like, but the economy! We need to go back to work because of the economy. This is actually pretty much what they're saying. This is not a joke.
Yeah.
Well, actually, at this point, they're like, but the Harvest Festival's coming up. But later, there is literally an argument that, no, the economy, people have to get back to work.
Yeah. There's this whole thing, there's this whole running plot here about how the people have to get back to work, and the danger is probably over, and it'll probably be fine. And I'm like, this is really weird to be watching that right now. But
strangely relevant.
But yeah, so they're like, we got to have the Harvest Festival, but my Harvest Festival, and Sarah's like, haha, Silver Machine, go burr. Sarah has a daughter slash sister slash small child. It turns out it's neither of those. Named.
She looks really small in this first scene.
Yeah, she really does. Anyway,
I thought she was like a child for some reason, but no, she's like a regular adult,
no, it's just the way
and is just like a friend of Sarah. But for some reason, she looked like a small child.
Yeah, it's just the way the animation is. So she's called Rhea, and she looks very similar to Fina. They're both purple-haired babes. They're both young, and they're both pretty. One of them is a little bit more round-faced, and that's how you can tell them apart. If you're me, at least. Maybe there's better ways. Also, their voices are quite a bit different. Back in the town, Jeva watches with happiness as Adel happily takes a swim in the lake. Some city pop music plays. It's really good. Adel just grabs the biggest fish in the world and hauls it back onto the shore. He and Fina are getting close, which is nice. They're seeing some rain clouds, and Adel says he learned how to read the weather and catch fish from the fisherman in episode 1. We jump to Mania, and holy moly, it is hells of raining. It is just absurd amounts of raining. Some mysterious road figures are like, please, we are travelers, let us in. We're definitely not bad. And the people running the town are like, they're not bad, but they are bad.
What's funny is the people are like, okay, we're going to let them in, but then the bad guys don't even wait for them to let them in before they just fucking blow everything
Yeah, that's so
up.
true. They do like a weird electricity spell. It's kind of hilarious. These bad guys are, one of them is the boy who has been a bad guy for a hot second. I wrote it down.
Well, one of them is, I don't know if we even get his name. He's just like a wizard. And another one is called, I believe he is called Darius.
Oh.
Which I'm wondering if he's actually like the dolls we know from East 2.
Yes.
And he's going to be
that's
in
the one I was
East
trying
2
to remember.
anime.
Yeah. I just went ahead and assumed that was the case. So I'm pretty sure this guy is Dolls or Dallas or whatever his name is, depending on your version. Yeah, from East 2. So that guy, he was like a random, like, he was like a middleman, evil bureaucrat who we owned in East 2. He's here, I'm pretty sure, as Dallas, or as what does the script call him in this?
Darius.
It's Dares, and they pronounce it
Darius. There we go. And the other guy is this wizard named Genocres. I know that's right. I did write that down directly from the subtitles. I don't think, is he a character from the games?
I think that might be the first boss we fight before we go into Solomon's Shrine.
Gotcha.
And they just were like, okay, that wizard's going to be a guy, because Adel doesn't fight someone before going into Solomon's Shrine. He just fights the second boss of the game, the giant worm.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. So, yeah, these are loosely based on some characters from the game. And these wizards, I like these wizards quite a bit. So anyway, some whatever stuff happens. There's some pretentious scenes of various characters, whatever. Eventually, Adel senses that Sarah's in trouble, so he heads back to Mania. One of the road figures turns out to be a super dangerous wizard. Some more city pop plays. It's really good. The whole town surrounds him, but then they realize that the wizard ruse was a distraction. And the other guy is clearly in the room with Sarah, which he is. So Dallas, is what I assumed he was, is in the room with Sarah. He turns her to stone. Oh no! Adel arrives way too late, aka like the next morning, and is really sad about this. So then a guy whose name I forgot, although now I know who it is, shows up and gives Adel a great pep talk. It turns out this is Goban. So he gives Adel a great pep talk and also another book of Ys. He's just like, hey, I had this. Then Genocres shows up and tries to kill them, but they...
He had it because he is Jeva's son and Sarah's cousin. This has been made clear.
Yes, okay.
At this point.
Cool, thank you. It's hard to take notes on an anime. You have to keep pausing it. Early in the show, I would like have it in a small screen and then be writing alongside, but it was getting hard for me to focus. I was either pausing too much or I was writing while I was having to read. So later on, and also it just wasn't as good as on a small screen. So later on, I would watch it big screen and then just pause it more periodically. And that's probably why my notes got worse. But frankly, I did enjoy it a lot more that way. So you win some, you lose some. The Harvest Festival comes, and Rhea shows up. Turns out she's an orphan who lives at the church. She's just, as Bernard said, she's just friends with Sarah.
They actually don't make this very clear, but she, at least it's assumed by people that she's a refugee from Raston.
Yes, that is hinted at as well. So she sees a vision and says, go to the mine. So that's episode 3. Episode 4. I thought we were halfway through here because I thought there were 6 episodes. Turns out there's 7, so cool. Adel has a pal, a friend of Goban, aka Dogi, the guy who saved him on the beach. He's like, oh, I'm the guy who saved you on the beach. My name's Dogi. I like Dogi a lot. He's just
he's great. I love him.
He's just a big boy. He's a big boy. He's a chum. He's a sweet lad.
He's a himbo.
He's a massive fucking himbo. They're in the mines. We have a cutaway to Dark Fact. He just dramatically intones stuff. I don't know. We get more scenes of Adel and Dogi hanging out. There's fight scenes. There's chilling. They're just literally just vibing. In these scenes, it's really nice. Adel shares with Dogi that he has a side quest. Rhea wanted him to get her harmonica, which was in the mine. Oh shit, the mine opens up into a huge crater. I didn't say this earlier, but earlier when there was some earlier when we were going to like Solomon Shrine and stuff, there's like a giant crater at the top of the mountain, which, you know, we probably know why that's there if we've played East 2. So it turns out that the mine, which was lower in altitude, opens up inside of the crater. So they're like, what? We're confused. You know, we've been going down. Why is there light? I don't know. It's just cool. Then some more stuff happens. Doesn't matter a whole lot. And eventually, Fina is having a lot of feelings because she's scared of her past. It's sort of a Lost Odyssey situation. She's like, I've lost all my memories, and maybe it's better this way. Then there's a minor boss fight. It's these 4 knight dudes. At this point, Adel he kind of does fight them East style. He like does a body slide. He just like slides his whole body but sideways.
Yeah, he like jumps on the ground and slides into them, and it knocks them over, and it's like, haha, now they're on the ground. But I'm like, but you're on the ground too. You both just have to stand up now.
Have y'all seen that really classic video of like some Bollywood movie where the hero is on a horse and he does a horse slide under a vehicle?
No.
Well, imagine what you just saw with Adel, but it's a man on a horse, and the man and the horse are both just completely flat on the ground, sliding under like a truck, and then they get to the end of the truck, and then they pop back up, and they keep going.
Nice.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It rules. So anyway, but yeah, they beat the knights. I don't know. It's cool. Then a bunch more stuff happens, and they have to fight the big vampire boss that we all hated from the game. One thing I like about this game, this anime's fight scenes, is that they all take place in these really big, elaborate rooms. They're not just like in little rectangle rooms from the game. They're all like, you know, oh, there's stairs, there's a big shrine, it's a big open area, and the hero is running around and hiding behind things and stuff. On the other hand, I'm like, nah, man, like, he should have, like, recreated the mechanics of the game. He should have been separating himself into 4 little bats, and then flying at Adel, and then Adel has to dodge the 4 bats, and then has a second where he has to stab or ram himself into the vampire. But no, the vampire at no point breaks himself into 4 small bats, which is too bad, personally.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Once again.
Anyway, Adel finds the silver harmonica. I'm guessing he finds the Book of East as well. I just guess I forgot to write that. Yes, he obviously finds the Book of East.
He believes himself and beats the vampire, and then he's like, oh, a Book of East, awesome, and he picks it up, and then the silver harmonica is under it very conveniently.
Yes, there we go. Anyway, so yeah, he finds the silver harmonica. Adel returns it to Rhea, and oh snap, she has a vision of the final boss, the Dark Crystal thing. What's the official name of this thing?
Black Pearl.
Black Pearl. That's right. Again, I had it right later in the document. So that's cool. We're only in each one, but she's already having a vision of the Black Pearl, which is cool. Also, then she plays her harmonica, and it's a beautiful little song. She's also talking while she's playing, which I don't know how she's doing that. She keeps saying Fina. I'm not really sure if it's her saying this or if it's like fate calling out or something. But she's just calling Fina, and that's it. And then something is clearly happening. Like, we cut away to Fina, where something's clearly happening to her. She's kind of having a normal one. Not really sure. Later we'll find out she's like awakening, right, to her true nature of being a goddess and stuff like that. But it's not really clear here. Episode 5. So this is not true to the game at all. If this was true to the game, we should be in the tower by now.
Yeah.
Because we are over halfway through the anime. The fact that it's not just 3 episodes of being in a tower is bullshit. No, we start with Rhea hovering in the air and calling out to the Rhoda tree to give her an important item that they all need. Adel is talking with Goban, saying, we gotta go to the tower. The tower surely holds the key. Goban is like, hold your horses, man. You only have 3 of the 6 books. But Adel says, I've played the game. I know the last 3 books are in the tower. But it turns out that they didn't go out by the game. One of the books is not in the tower. So anyway.
It's actually funny that at this point they have Adel being like, I gotta go to the tower, and I know there's our books there, because later on, there's enough information to just logically infer the books are there.
That is true, yeah. At this point, he has no reason to think that the books are there. He's just raring to go to the tower, basically. He's like, look, it's there, the bad guys are in it, like, let's just go. Come on. It's not a point of return like it was in the game. If we can always just come back out later. Anyway, Adel has a very cool and evocative dream of the Rhoda tree. It's in this wasteland-looking place, and the tree is enormous. Doesn't it look like a tree? It looks more like a giant shrub. Like, trees have, like, a bottom, and then they go up in a certain way. Like, they branch out. They often, like, they don't have branches at the bottom, and then it branches up like a tree. This just looks like a cylinder of shrubbery, just a cylinder of leaves. That's the whole tree. It's just a giant green cylinder. It's very big. Goban tells him about the Rhoda tree. It's a giant tree with a soul that has existed since the ancient East days. Dark Fact just straight up shows up here. Probably, I mean, not in real life. It probably is like a projection. But Dark Fact just shows up. Adel's like, who are you? And Goban's like, oh, hey, it's Dark Fact. Dark Fact says that the Book of Mesa is in the deserted temple in the forest. I'm thinking that wasn't in the game. Are they adding a dungeon? Adel needs to go alone to prove that he's a hero and go get it. Also, he kidnapped Luther Gemma. Quick aside, there's a bunch of scenes here of Dark Fact, like, watching what's going on, and it's actually kind of neat. He's not doing the whole villainous thing. Well, he is doing the villainous thing, but, like, he's not under or overestimating Adel. Like, at the beginning, he's like, this guy is not the prophesied hero. And then later, he's like, okay, maybe he is, but you know what? Prophecies are dumb. I'm evil, and evil can overcome prophecies. Fuck it. So this whole time, he's like trying to suss out how much of a threat Adel is. Like, I don't know. I think it's a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more interesting than just the typical villain where they're just watching and saying yes. So at this point, he's like, you know what? This Adel guy is a threat, but I bet if I lure him into a trap, I can get him. Right? So he's just like, Adel, I'll give you the Book of Mesa, but you gotta go to you gotta go overcome my trap. And he's like, okay. So now Rhea and Fina are having Star Wars: The Last Jedi telepathy conversations. They're talking about how they gotta, like, fulfill their destiny and stuff across 2 different towns. There's a sweet scene where Jeva tells Fina that the more time they spend together, the more she feels like Fina is her own daughter, and she can stay as long as she likes. This is one of the many indications that this show takes place over probably months. which is, or at least weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Which is cool, which is neat.
When Adel goes to rest and meets Luther, he's like, yeah, I've only been here a few weeks. And I was like, oh, I thought you were here for like 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually a pretty, a lengthy journey, which I think can account for both, like when he said that, I was assuming like part of it could have just been like him like recovering in the hospital or whatever. But also like there's travel time and stuff like that. So yeah, this is actually like a big kingdom. It's not an overworld that takes 5 seconds to get from one town to another. So anyway, yeah, so Adel and Goban and Dogi are going through the vines of this thick forest, and finally they enter an enormous clearing, and there it is, the big-ass tree. It says, "Come here." He then dumps a bunch of lore on us, he being the Rhoda tree. Turns out the goddess gave the Black Pearl to the 6 priests. They were like, hey, we're the goddesses, y'all have 6 priests. We want this land to prosper, so we made this thing called the Black Pearl. Even though it's called the Black Pearl, and in classical fantasy type stuff, black just means evil because we're a little little racist. We're not assuming that. We're assuming it's fine. This thing's called the Black Pearl. So they used it to make Claria and magic and all of the good shit. But making Claria has, quote, given birth to peace and violence, both good and bad, magic and monsters. The goddesses did not foresee that happening. They're like, oops. So they buried the Claria deep in the ground, and they raised the Black Pearl into the sky to separate the two, thinking that would like lessen its power, which I think it did for quite a while. But then, of course, eventually the people started mining up the Claria because they said, oh, look, it's silver. And that's causing problems. Adel starts getting super, super glowy, and then the tree gives him 5 million experience points, and then also gives him a full set of Claria armor, and shield, and sword. It fucking whips. It's very shiny. There's lots of gratuitous shots of how cool his armor looks. Also, it's super clanky. He exits and goes back to Dogi and Goban, and he's like, clank, 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 clank. It's cool. There was also one more armor change earlier that I forgot to mention. So this is his 3rd armor change. So Adel goes to the ancient temple to get the Book of Mesa. Then that fucking Mantis boss shows up.
Yeah.
And this Mantis boss does do what he does in the game. He throws his little mantis-y claws at Adel. But instead of being in a tiny cramped room, again, he's running around an entire like big old ziggurat pyramid thingy. It's cool. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens. He like hides, and then a wall caves in, blah 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 blah. Fina realizes that she's the goddess all along. Adel continues to have a big mantis fight. He doesn't beat it, actually. He just runs away and hides inside the temple. And I'm like, oh, look at that. You just ran away. No experience points.
Brave soul.
Brave soul. In Mania, once again, all the townspeople are like, blah, we need to go back to work. Our economy, this is hurting our stonks. Adel finally does kill the mantis. He slices it all the way from top to bottom, and also, like, it spills out its guts. It freaking rules. All this goopy intestinal stuff just bleh, which I don't think bugs have that. I think bugs have a different thing going on inside there, but it's still cool. So that's 4 books down. Time to go to Dom Tower. Also, Adel can now read the books of Ys. Cool.
At this point, it makes sense to go to the tower because it's like, oh, I know that he has learned that Luther is a descendant of Gemma, which is, his name is Gemma. So it's like, oh, Luther Gemma probably has the Book of Gemma, which Dark Fact kidnapped him, and now he's in the tower. And also, I also know that Dark Fact is a descendant of the priest Fact, so he probably has the Book of Fact. So now it makes sense to go to the tower, because it's like, oh, we have reason to believe the last 2 books are in the tower.
Dark Fact actually explicitly does say that he has the book earlier as well.
Does he? Oh, does he tell it to Adel?
Yep, he even says something like, as long as I have this book, you'll never defeat me, which is, something you say when you don't want to get defeated by the hero. Which is actually funny, because that's really not what it is. It's not like, as long as I have this book, you'll never defeat me, because you defeat him to get the book. So he's just not even right about that. So anyway, episode 6, which I thought was the end, but actually turns out there's 2 more episodes, which was a fun little surprise to me. That's one reason I was up a little later than expected. But the other reason was that I got hopelessly addicted to Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Whoops. So as the goddesses fly towards, the goddesses are flying towards the Tower of Dharm. They're talking about the whole, there's always going to be good and evil. And basically, Dark Fact is saying the same thing as I mentioned before. He's saying that there's always a balance between good and evil, but actually, evil is more powerful than good, so we're fine. We're always just going to kick good's ass, so, we're just always going to win. It's great. And then Dallas casts, a big spell thingy that just totally, on both Fina and Rhea, and just owns her, owns them from totally long distance. He just does something and they start hollering, and then Rhea disappears. We find out later, of course, she is captured. So anyway, they finally go into the tower. They immediately start having to own some people. It's Dogi and Goban are the ones going with our boy Adel, which is cool. He's got a whole party. So back in the village, they keep fighting. They keep arguing about whether or not they're going to disband the army. Because again, they keep to explain the jokey way I said it earlier. They're like, Adel. They're like, hey, we haven't seen the monsters in a while. Adel probably saved the day. We're just going to assume that he did and send all of our soldiers back to work, because we really need to send the soldiers to work. It's hurting. It's really hurting our economy to not have them doing that. It'll be fine. But there are various characters arguing against it. Sloth, is the main person saying, no, don't disband the army. That's dumb. Please give it a little bit of time. Let's wait for Adel to come in, tell us that he actually save the day and actually stop the monsters. So that does work for a little bit. So anyway, Adel gets separated from the rest of them because he gets to the the mirror part, the hall of the mirror maze. They're like, no, don't touch the mirror, and he touches the mirror, and he goes through a cool crazy graphics situation, and then he ends up being trapped, and he finds Luther. Luther tells Adel a bunch of lore about the fact that, here's all the 6 priests, all of these various characters in the anime were actually descendants of the priests. Dark Fact was one of our buddies. He was one of the descendants, but he became evil, and Adel says something like, why did he turn evil? And then Luther says it was because of silver, and I'm like, oh, so greed. But then he's like, no. He started collecting all the silver because he wanted to make his evil army. And I'm like, wait, that doesn't explain why he became evil, though.
Well, in my experience, people don't need a reason to be evil.
That is true, but this is an anime.
They just do it.
This is also, he does explicitly say why did he turn evil, but yeah, he's just like the silver didn't corrupt him. Him collecting the silver was because he wanted to take over the world and was evil. So whatever. Maybe he turned evil because his name was Dark Fact.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe he was Happy Fact before he became evil.
He was chill fact.
Chill Fact.
Or he wasn't dulk decked, he was fun decked. Anyway, Luther gives Adel the book of Gemma, and the two continue on through the tower. They eventually meet back up with Dogi and Goban after Dogi and Goban were also having a lot of their own fighting. Dogi especially got to have his own little Dogi venture, which was I love that for him. I like that. Eventually, they fight a big old snake thing.
They meet up with when Dogi accidentally breaks through a wall.
Oh yes, that's true. Where in the anime, if you recall, in the game, he actually saves you. He busts through the wall when you get captured. Here, he's just bumbling around and he crashes through the wall and he's like, "Hey, it's Adel." That was happening so fast, I honestly didn't even totally parse it. That's what had happened. Sometimes the graphics in this anime are really exciting and good, but not always legible. At least, maybe if you're me. And you're probably distracted by face paint or something. Then again, Bernard also has eye pain, so no, what's my excuse? Anyway, they have another boss. At this point, the bosses are pretty much just like, the boss is owning Adol, and then Adol remembers, I'm going to defeat it using the power of Claria. And then his sword glows, and then he slices it from top to bottom.
I like how it's not the power of friendship or the power of believing in himself. It's, I have the power of a really good sword.
Yep. Yep. It's good stuff. Unlike the anime, he does... if you recall in the game, you get all the Claria armor, which, like, from a plot standpoint, should be the best. But then when you get to the tower, you find better shit. But then you have to go back to the Claria stuff for the final boss, and I'm too young to figure that out. Anyway, that doesn't happen in this anime. He just has the Claria stuff for the rest of the show. So anyway, the bad guys end up casting like a spell or something, and Dogi and Goban just sort of vanish. So Adol's all alone. But Fina is like, you can do it, so go to the top of the tower, and he's like, okay, cool. Right? So, final episode. Turns out Dark Fact, we found this out for previous episode, sorry. Turns out Dark Fact has in fact been amassing a giant army the entire time. He's been mustering his forces to go and defeat the bejesus out of Minea, which he does, and they're like, oh no, we thought that this wasn't going to happen. So anyway, Adol goes to the throne room and or not yet, but he heads there. Dark Fact does some more monologuing. He talks about how like humans just suck basically, so it's fine to defeat them because they, even though they have something cool like Claria and magic, they still manage to have a crappy society and sadness and greed and stuff. So like, fuck them. Which, valid.
And I'm like, you are also human.
Yeah, also, you're also doing bad things. Like, whatever. Anyway, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
Real white person on Twitter talking about how they hate white people. And
yes. He's a total Karen. Do y'all hear Karen is a slur now?
I did hear that Karen is definitely a real slur now.
Eli, in case you didn't notice, because you spend your time doing better things than looking at the discourse on Twitter, some person was like, I can't help but feel that the word Karen is used as a slur now, and women are daring to question people in power, like, the manager. And I'm like, no, Karen asks to speak to the manager. She's not she's not questioning the manager. You don't even understand you don't even understand the meme. Anyway.
It is maybe not great because you got to feel bad for people named Karen.
Yeah,
true. But have you ever?
It's not
met
their
a Karen
fault.
but have you ever met a Karen that wasn't a Karen?
Probably at some point.
I don't know that I've ever met a Karen.
I think I've literally never met a person named Karen. So,
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I do feel bad for the few good Karens out there.
I want that to be a movie now. The Few Good Karens.
Anyway, some stuff happens, and Adol defeats Dallas, or at least seems to defeat Dallas, and he keeps going. He saves he saves Leah for real this time, and the goddesses, because they're definitely just like, yeah, we're goddesses now, both of them. They teleport to where Dogi and Luther and Goban are, and they're like, thank you so much for helping us, thank you for being heroes, blah, 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 blah. And then they all teleport to the throne room, and they're all going to confront Dark Fact together, except Adol. Adol's not here yet, which is cool. So anyway, Dark Fact is like, actually, goddesses, y'all caused all this evil by giving humans the Black Pearl, which is the stuff that, made the Claria and is the sorts of monsters. And I'm like, again, decent point, but also like, look, we make mistakes, okay? Just because they're literally all powerful deities doesn't mean they're going to know that the things that they do with their own power are going to end up being bad. Oh wait, maybe they should know that. Goban and Luther argue, they're like, no, it's human mistakes that cause evil, not the goddesses, which is really throwing humans under the bus there. So Dark Fact is just like, whatever, I'm going to go fight Adel, I don't give a crap about y'all. So then on top of the tower, because of course where else are you going to fight besides on top of a tower, Adel and Dark Fact fight. It's really, really cool. Underneath, the goddesses are like destroying the whole throne room, and the Black Pearl appears, and then they sacrifice themselves to try and blow up the Black Pearl, and it works. They defeated the Black Pearl. East 2 doesn't have to happen. All of the monsters on the island disappear, which means that, Minea is saved and stuff like that, which is like, really cool. Then Adel is fighting Dark Fact, and Dark Fact sees that happens, and he's like, "Oh no, I've lost." Adel hasn't actually defeated him yet, but he's like, "The goddesses owned my plan. I guess I shouldn't have left the Black Pearl unguarded while I fought this guy." Good has triumphed. Since he wanted to kill me, just go ahead and freaking kill me, whatever, man. Yeah.
He, tries to do a face turn. I don't really understand what's going on. He's like, kill me now. If not, I'll be corrupted and do bad stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? Also, do we actually see the Black Pearl get destroyed, or is it just, they touch it and then, all the demons on Asteria disappear or turn to stone? I'm not really clear on what happens here. I'm guessing maybe it will become more clear in the East 2 anime.
Yeah, because obviously the Black Pearl was not destroyed because, maybe this was just maybe this was just a partial Black Pearl, because the real thing obviously is up there in the floating land of East. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he's like, "Oh, you gotta kill me," and Adel is like, "No, I shouldn't." But then he does, which I think is cool. It's not that kind of anime. This is the kind of anime where the hero does kill the bad guy because he's bad, and that's what a hero does to an evil wizard. So the Dark Fact is like, "Thank you," and then they get the final book, the Book of Fact, and Adel gets it, and finally there's all the books, and their power destroys the all the storms that have been blocking off the island, if you recall, and it fixes the goddesses, and Sarah is no longer stone again, and everything is good. And then a bunch of graphics happen, and then Adel goes up to a floating castle, and that is the end of this anime and the end of Ys 1. The end.
Huzzah!
I think it's. Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like, yeah, he goes up to a new land, but it's like, no, he totally saved the day. Everything's fixed. It's done. I don't know what he's doing next. Probably not important.
The Ys 1 anime came out after both Ys 1 and Ys 2, because I believe Ys 1 was 87, Ys 2 was 88, and then the Ys 1 anime was 89. Ran from 89 to 91. I don't know if the Ys 2 anime picked up immediately after it, or if it was I don't know if it was if they were conceived together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. And I didn't watch a second of it. There's only 3 episodes of the Ys 2 anime, so it wouldn't be as much work to watch it. But it was just too much. But yeah, that's this anime. I had a really, really nice time watching it. Do y'all have some memorable moments?
Particularly. I thought it was an interesting anime. I thought it did a good job of telling the story of the game, and it but it did so in a way that translated well to anime.
I really enjoyed the anime. I thought it was a very good adaptation of the game. Like, I would, having played the game, I would think adapting it, especially just East 1, to a good anime would be difficult. But I feel like they, rearranged characters and stuff in a way that felt very faithful to the game, while also making it work more as a regular story. I think it is a good video game adaptation, and I really liked a lot of the characters. I really liked Dogi, of course. I also really liked Mr. Norton. He's just like a cool guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I liked him.
Yeah, I liked him. I also liked Zagraf a lot.
Zagraf?
The guy whose name I can never get right.
Slaff.
Slaff.
It's one syllable.
I liked Slaff a lot. He's quite good. Yeah, and like, I feel like in a lot of ways the elaborations are just like what your imagination is imagining is happening in the game when you play the very, very loosely sketched out sort of 8-bit game, right? I had a few specific moments I really liked. First of all the music unimaginably slaps. It's almost all arrangements of music from the actual game, like that overworld theme, do 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 do. You get like 50 versions of that song anytime something heroic is happening, and then the do 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 do. You get like 50 versions of that one as well. But also like more specific songs, like the dungeon music from the Tower of Dom plays during one of the scenes. The mine music plays during a scene. There's also some neat little recapitulations and little things that remind you of like little shades of other melodies thrown in there. It's quite cool. They did a really good job with it. Some of it's like orchestral and rousing. Some of it's like guitars and rockin'. Some of it's like fun and poppy. It's got all kinds, and it whips. There's only a few specific scenes I wanted to mention, but there's a few just pretty cute things. Where is it?
While you're looking for that, there was a funny moment where after Adel and Luther Gemma meet up, they go and Luther invites him to stay at his house, and Luther's wife is serving dinner, and she's like, Luther's always going out of the town to research stuff, even though I don't want him to. He's just always wandering off like he's sleepwalking.
That's the part I was going to say. Yeah, because, in the game he actually was literally sleepwalking, which is stupid. But in this, she's like, something just, he's like, I can't help it, babe. Something just comes over me and I have to go out and solve the mystery. She's like, yeah, it's like you're sleepwalking. Yeah, which I thought was really cute. Also, the very next scene was one of my memorable moments. When Luther plays his song he plays a song on like his like guitar lute thingy, at night.
Lute or Gemma.
Oh yeah, I actually had that thought during this scene. So Luther Gemma is looting, and it's a nice little nighttime scene with him and Adel. And he starts singing a song, and the song, he's like, yeah, all I can sing is sad songs lately. I've been really down, but hey, I mean, this song's been passed down for a long time. Maybe the words mean something, And then he sings a song that's like very much just like lore. Yeah, it's like when all the monsters come and start taking all the silver. It's not that literal, but it really is. But I really like the end of it. It's got a line about how, like, even if the evil departs, the garden will not return. And then there's another line that either is the song or Luther talking where he's just like, yeah, it's like you defeat the evil and then all the harm caused by the evil is still there and everyone's still sad and depressed. And I'm like, damn, go off. Like, that's messed up. There's also a lot of stuff about, like, are you really the hero of legend, or is being a brave soul just something that anyone can do? Are you the real Adel Christen who's going to save the day, or are you just a plucky, heroic lad who can become the hero of legend due to your just pure good vibes, right?
Remember how in Into the Spider-Verse it was like, anyone can wear the mask, anyone can be Spider-Man. I'm like, no, you have to be bitten by a radioactive spider and get spider powers to be Spider-Man. I really don't understand the moral of this movie.
Maybe, given the probability of that happening, maybe one or maybe two people in a given reality can be Spider-Man. One per universe.
I mean, I guess anyone can wear the mask because they sell the mask in gift shops, but I don't think that's what they meant.
Any kind of person, a person from any background could get bitten by a spider, yes. A radioactive spider, sure. But, yeah, no.
Statistically, it'll probably be someone in New York City. But still.
Anyway, yeah. Those are my own only for a moment. Funny enough, they were both from the same episode and were very shortly after each other. The other ones I forgot and don't care. Yeah, I had a good time watching this. I just love the 80s look. The animation was mostly just normal, but it also was very nice at a lot of times. Wasn't high budget, but it was hey, these animators did a good friggin' job. That was cool. That was a good little fight scene. That's a nice little tableau. That background is really pretty. Had great colors. I don't know. I feel like this doesn't feel like a weird spin-off cash that doesn't matter. This felt like a part of the experience of playing the game to me. I feel like if I were to tell someone to get into the East series, I'd be like, oh yeah, watch the anime. That's it's got the same aesthetic. That's the thing. It's got the same vibe and feel as the game, so it adds to it instead of feeling like just some random crap that you had to watch. Anyway, those are all my thoughts. Any other thoughts to share?
It's funny how overall it doesn't feel low budget, but there are a few moments of them reusing animation, and it really stands out. Like in the first episode, when Adel is visiting the port city, he's going around seeing all the sights, and it shows these stalls that have some stuff in them, and it has a shot of him turning his head with a big goofy smile on his face looking, and then it shows something else, and then it has the exact same shot right a second after the last one of him turning his head with a big goofy smile on his face.
I noticed that. It was quite funny. Yeah, there's definitely a couple parts like that are like that. It's silly. That's not...
Also, Adel sure gets knocked flying a lot.
Gosh, Adel, I like how he's such a big badass hero, and he always wins, and all the other characters keep saying wow, he's such a powerful warrior. But first of all, he's a pretty scrawny little lad. He's not big and burly like the other heroes, and also he always just gets owned, and then eventually remembers that he has a good sword, and then he owns them.
Yes.
Or they own themselves out the mountain.
Yes.
That's still my favorite part, probably. But yeah, that's East. We are now done with all East-related materials. Very excited to start Chrono Trigger. Yeah, guess that's basically it. I will wrap us up as well. So thank you for being our fans of RPG Book Club. This has now been Eli. Does sellout game denote the end of a year or the beginning of a new year?
That's a good question. I believe it denotes the end of a year because I don't think that Persona was technically a sellout game because
yeah, that doesn't count. No.
Yeah, so I believe because this would be our second sellout game, this is the end
cool.
of...
So yeah, we are coming up on the end of our second year of having done this pod. And just like last year, it's more than an actual year. Our first year, quote unquote, was 13 months, and our next year seemed to be 13 months. So we're just getting more and more off in our years, but whatever. So if you've been around for the last year or two, thank you so much for supporting us through all of this. Again, as our treat to you, we are doing Chrono Trigger as next week's game, starting next week from now. So get playing. Acquire some version of Chrono Trigger. Again, I was saying that I really like the original SNES version. I don't think it's really been topped, but there's a number of other good ones. The point we're playing to, we are playing to what you could probably guess. I just feel like every single person who could possibly do this would pick the same spot, which is after the trial. I'm not going to explain more about that, but there is some kind of trial. And after it is over, you save first chance you get. I forget exactly where that is, but it's after the damn trial.
Also, I have confirmed that the name of the first boss in East 1, the very powerful wizard who is way too hard for a first boss, is named Genocrease, which I believe is what you said the name of the wizard in this is. So yeah, they just took that wizard and made him do other things.
He's also very powerful in this anime.
Yeah, and Adel actually doesn't beat him. He just, like, has Sarah's crystal, and the crystal just, like, explodes, and then Genocrease dies.
If only we could have cheated our way through that battle in the actual game, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anyway, yeah, so point is, play to the end of the dang old trial. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week on Chrono Trigger. This is an RPG Book Club. You should check us out at rpgbook.club. That's got links to various things, such as our Ko-Fi, which is ko.fi/rpgbookclub. Twitter at RPG
Co-Fi.
You're right. .com/RPG Book Club. And then we got our Twitter at RPG Book Club. Gmail or email is the same thing at gmail.com. Our Discord doesn't have a catchy title, but you should definitely check out our Discord. The more people we have joining our Discord, the more people. If you're playing Animal Crossing, please join our Discord, because I need more people to tell me what their stock prices are. That's really the only thing I care about. I don't actually care about you, any of you people, for any reason other than your stock prices. I've gone mad with power. Yeah, and please consider being a monthly donor on Ko-Fi, because we really enjoy that. We really enjoy having a little bit of cash that we can use to spend on video games, and that way we don't just have to play like stuff that costs $5 or stuff that we already own. So it really helps us out, and also it helps us push towards our stretch goals, which we keep hitting more and more of our stretch goals, which means we have to play more and more video games. Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure that Sam did not ever actually spill the beans on what our first stretch goal game is. So in just being careful in case that I'm not supposed to spoil it, our first stretch goal game episode is going to be at the end of this month. So all of you who donated towards us hitting that, thank you so much. You're going to get to hear us talking about a new entire video game at the end of April or early May. So definitely please look forward to that. I know I'm looking forward to playing it. Anyway, that's all we've got. Thanks for joining us on this fun adventure. A special extra double triple ultra thanks to our guest, David Bernard Hauk, who has been, I don't know why I called you that. Anyway, our guest, our buddy Bernard, who has been with us the entire time. Bernard, do you want to plug anything?
I don't do anything, or I haven't accomplished anything to plug. I've made a few good posts on my Twitter account, which is at David Bernard H.
Yeah, honestly, Bernard's tweets are quite good. Except that the Twitter algorithm always decides that I don't want to see them. So anytime the Twitter algorithm goes back to like showing top posts instead of showing just chronological, it doesn't show me Bernard's posts. So it thinks that Bernard's posts are bad, but it's wrong.
Rude.
They're good.
Well, it wouldn't show you top posts for me. All of mine are bottom posts.
That's
a joke.
I didn't need to know that. I didn't need to know.
That's
Also,
a joke.
frankly, I'm surprised.
I loved it.
Yeah, I think you're lying about that. Anyway, y'all,
Mine are Switch posts.
This is our last this is our last episode with all gays.
Yeah, the straights are coming back.
Sam's like a little gay.
Yeah,
he's mentioned a couple times. He's a little gay, but yeah, the show's gonna go back to having one straight person on it, which is a real shame. But
no, we love Sam.
We do love Sam. Sorry, Sam. We love you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're
you can't help.
It's not your fault.
the way
You're
you were made.
straight-ish. But no, you really should follow Bernard's tweets. I think that they're really good. Bernard's always sending me tweets like, hey, I got this tweet idea. Do you have any ideas on how I can make it better? And I'm like, no, it's fucking hilarious. And then he posts it, and I like it, and I retweet it, and then, like, no one else does. But that's because all the people who are friends with me, like, wouldn't appreciate it. Because they just don't have the same interests as me and Bernard. Most of my friends don't have those interests. But they're fucking good posts, okay? Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Bernard. Hope we can have you again sometime in the future. I'm sure that we will. You're just our go-to extra person. Anyway, this has been RPG Book Club. I am Maddie Grace Webben.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm Bernard Hauk.
Bye, folks.
Toodaloo.
Goodbye forever. I'm never coming back.
Oh, wow.